I'm still alive. I rebuilt the airlock pipes. Note to self, just because something is aesthetically pleasing does not mean it will effectively pressurize an environment. My O2 tank is about half empty. If I don't figure out how to refill it, I won't be able to go outside for longer than I can hold my breath. You know, I should be able to rig up an air filter and a tank filling system with what I have on hand, between the airlock and the auto lathe. Yeah. Well, that didn't work. Schematics database says that if I can get my hands on some gold, I can make what I need for oxygen filtration. So, I'm out prospecting for ores, looking for that gold. And I have to say, what kind of wacky stellar phenomenon leaves this kind of ore distribution? It's like someone took an ore barge and shook it like a salt shaker above the surface. I found ice that is primarily water, lead, silver, and... ooh. It's not a high yield, but this sample has gold in it. Not going to lie, the lower gravity here is really cool. I feel like I could lift a car. I wish I had a car. I wouldn't have to walk everywhere. Okay, yeah, that was easier to assemble than I expected. I should probably trust the schematic database from here on, instead of trying to connect the airlock to the auto lathe. Don't laugh. In theory, it should have worked. O2 tank is almost full now. I've been using a lot of it, just going outside to adjust the solar panel. Which I don't mind, because my EVA suit is warm, and the HAB most definitely is not. Side effect of using cold sublimating oxygen to pressurize it. Schematics database says I have what I need to make a simple electronic circuit printer. That could open a lot of comforts, like light and heat, but the solar's barely keeping up as it is.
Good afternoon, I'm Tangent Turner, and this is Mars Stationeer Brutal, Episode 3. Let's go ahead and load in our world. So today's goal is solar tracking electronics. It'll give me more consistent power, and I don't have to keep going to the roof to realign the solar panel multiple times per day. It's an easily expandable system, and it's one of the reasons I like to do it early, is I can just add another solar panel and it just works. Because we're still kind of a speed run this early in the run, a lot of people will probably be like, oh, solar, automated solar, that's a bit of a luxury item, isn't it? I see it more as a necessity. With automated solar, I have the ability to just walk away and not worry about what does and doesn't get started. So we're going to start that. I've already changed it to the next item over, so it shouldn't print two of those while I'm out. We're going to have to go outside and make sure that our solar panel is pointed in the right direction. But where is this? We're going to take this down. We're going to plop it down over here. So we have a tool manufactory that I put here. I'm only doing it so that I can actually elevate the electronics up here so that there's a nice gap over here where it can just dump all of the cables that we will be mass producing. So that's already at 35%, which is nice. Is there anything else in here I need to do before going out? A little bit of food, a little bit of water. There we go. Chuck that there. Chuck that there. Alright, because we need to get a little bit more resources going. There we go. Depressurize the airlock. Excellent. What's our battery power? 12 and 48. That's suitable for right now. So we're going to cook the copper. That's the most important thing right now. And we're going to come up here and realign this 91%. We'll do that. It's not perfect, but it's like a little bit ahead of where it's going right now. Oh, it sounds like our electronics just finished printing.
Power critical.
Oh, our power is a little low, so let's switch that out with this. Let that charge a little bit. While we're out here, I'm going to switch to this. How much have you got left? 34, yeah. So we're going to use this time so that we're not wasting our daylight to gather a little bit more of the raw resources from our hole over here. Giant death hole right next to the base. Could stand to be a little bit bigger, right? A nice chunk of iron over here. Whoop. All right, what are we looking at? Oh, that's a color. What is that color? That is silicon hiding somewhere that we did not get last time. There it is. Any other silicon down here? Not seeing it. Let's get up here a little bit. Not wrong one. Looks like we got a little bit of iron hiding back here. And I'm not seeing any other colors in the walls. Oh, there's something. There we go. Our copper should be done very soon. 6 left. What are we going to do? I think we're going to drop the 4 in there and head in maybe. Now that that's there, we can build our electronics printer. Power is good enough. I'm just kind of like seeing when I go behind here and I get to like the sun glare, if it's mostly lined up, which that one is. So let's process that. Let's head in. All right, turn that off. Place our electronics printer and start working on our wiring to get that plugged in. There we go. Now we're going to need our welder, and we're going to need our iron and our plastic sheets. Plastic sheets are back here. Okay. We must be out of iron, so let's remedy that. Let's make some iron sheets. I think I'm going to go ahead and make 4 of these so I have enough for when I do want to do the manufactory. If I build the manufactory now, though, the problem I'm going to run into is either indoors will be too hot, or toxins will be high enough for me to not be able to breathe in here at night, which would be unfortunate, because we just went through so much to try and get it to where we could breathe in here. And then we'll do the screwdriver. So this should work. It does. What do we got left in here? We've got 31 copper in there. Let's go ahead and pull this copper out. Pop that in there. All right, so the logic we're going to need is we're going to need the kit logic IO. We're going to need 4 of those. We might need some silicon for this as well. So let's get that in there. So I just searched for logic, kit logic IO. We're going to need 4 of those, 2 to read, 2 to write. Oh, looks like that one finished charging. Let's put our big battery back in there so we can recharge a little bit for tonight. So while this is printing, I can draw your attention to the beef's recipes, the notes on my screen. So I told you that I used a spreadsheet where I kind of keep track of what I need to build and what I need to make it. So you see episode 1. I made the functional airlock, and I can, check that off. A little checkbox here. And that cost me 26 iron, 6 copper, and 14 silicon to make that. So all I did was I took all of the notes I had in the spreadsheet and I put them over there, just so that they're reviewable. I can go through it real quick. We're going to make a logic memory chip. So I can also come in here and double click on this blue, now that that one's done, and I can shrink it down. So we've also done the oxygen filtration step. Let's change this. I'm going to need a logic processor. Then right there I've got the bender and the atmospherics I needed, the filters, and what's not listed here is like the wiring. And that's because I had plenty of wiring in the first stack of 50 wiring I got from the just from the brutal start. So the lists aren't perfect. When I do my minimalist builds, I tend to not list what I like, not build extra of anything that I know I'm going to have enough of from when I'm starting on the brutal start. So that should be all of that. What do we got left in there? 23 copper. We're going to use that just to bulk create a bunch of coils here. Okay, we are losing power now, so that's not completely ideal. I'm going to move our chips over here. The sensor's actually going to go out. I'll grab this, put that here. How close are we to sunset? Not that close. Well, while that's going, we're gonna head back outside real quick. Clear out the airlock here. There we go. I'm gonna turn that off. Let's go put this down. So your sensor's data port needs to face north. Remember, your electronics port on your solar panel needs to face east, and your data port for the solar, or for the daylight sensor, needs to face to the north. We'll come back out here later to do the rest of the wiring, as that's what is currently printing. And we're going to take this in with us. And turn all that. Climb over everything to get back into the base. Start cleaning up our coil apocalypse over here. Is it out? Yeah, it's out of copper. Which means we're just going to add a little bit more, because we need more than a stack of this to do all of our wiring. Not much more than a stack. In fact, we're gonna hold off on this. Oh wait, I forgot. I told you I was gonna do this. Light, so that we're not sitting in here in the dark building this logic circuit. There we go. Alrighty, so let's plop the light down. Yeah, right there. In fact, let's do this. Let's do this smart and make this an LED. LEDs use about half the energy. I don't think it is about half. I think it is half the energy that the other light uses, and we have such a small little area in here. We're not going to need it. So that's our processor. That's our 4 I/O. That's that. Did anything else fall in here? No? Okay. One more trip, and I should have done this when I was out there before. Making sure that that solar panel is pointed at the sun. We're going to need a little bit more power through the night. All right, we're looking at like full-on 240 almost. Any power we can get into those batteries is going to help us out. All right, we're at 93%. And yeah, we're down to 15 then. So that's as good as it's going to get before the night arrives. I always click the wrong buttons on these. And turn this off, turn that off, All right, we're going to be indoors for a little bit, so let's ditch the helmet and the suit. Grab a quick bite to eat. Nope, quick little bit of water. That is now empty. So put that there, and we'll pull out another one of our water bottles. There we go. Alrighty. So I'm going to be building this circuit on my ceiling here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that light on now, and hopefully have enough power to get us through the rest of the night. So here's our 4 logic I/O kits. We're going to use 2 readers, one right here, and leave a gap, and one right here. We're going to have 2 writers, but we're going to use the batch writer. And I'm having the power pointed in to the same channel here. I like to keep power and data separate so that I can replace the power cords with better cabling later. In fact, what are we looking at here? Gold, copper. We could preemptively start doing some better cabling here. We're going to see how that goes for us. Let's grab our processor. We're going to put our math unit over here. And then our logic unit, our memory unit, is going to go right there. So yeah. What are we going to need here? We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're going to need a bit. Quite a bit to replace everything that's in here, wiring wise. But yeah, let's save all of that for a little bit later, shall we? Put that there. Not ready for those yet. Let's start with the power and go ahead and connect all of that up. So we're going to attach to the math unit, and that's facing the wrong direction. There we go. Now, we're going to want this power to go to our batteries, which at the moment is just this panel over here. So there. Now we've got power coming in off this line. I don't want to have to replace all of this wiring with this heavy-duty stuff yet, but we'll need that in the near future for rerouting power. So there's our power. So that's all that needs powered. Our 2 logic readers, our 2 batch writers, and our math unit. Now we need to get the logic cables hooked up here to where they don't touch our power cables. So we're going to do cross here. And I don't have my light with me, and it's kind of blocked by that, but hopefully you can still see. We're going to attach that and then go on this direction. And then turn in and try and figure out where our memory chip is. So our memory chip should be... we might be able to do it from this side. When all else fails, put your suit back on and turn your battery on so you can see what you're doing. Alright, so... there we go. That's what I wanted. Now I'm also going to need this because I need this line to come back out here to connect up with my batch writers. And then we'll attach these. And we also need to grab the output of this one. This would be much easier if you hadn't built your equipment vertically like I have. We also need to connect these with the outside and these. Is that an output? It is in fact an output. And then we're going to need to attach these like this. So there you go. I've got these kind of loops going on. Math unit, logic reader, 2 batch writers, and my memory is back there. What we don't have is a labeler. I've tried to build one of these without a labeler before, and mixed results. I've tried cycling through them to make sure I'm selecting the right reader and the right writer, and I feel like it might be impossible. I've had a lot of difficulty actually getting them to work that way. So let's do our configuration. Actually, let's do our naming first. Naming is going to be a little bit more important, so let's put our battery in there. And so we're going to have 2 readers. One's going to read horizontal, one's going to read vertical. And we have 2 writers. One's going to write horizontal and one's going to write vertical. We have to do some math to it to get it to line up with the sun on Mars. And that math has to have a number stored over here in the memory logic in order to make sense. So let's take this one, and I'm going to use LR-V. So this is the logic reader vertical. This is going to be LRH, logic reader horizontal. This is BW-V. It's our batch writer vertical, and BW-H, our batch writer horizontal. Now, I have 5 wires left, and that's not going to be enough to do the next part. So let's run some normal cable coils out of this, because we need to go outside, and all of this needs to attach to the solar panel and the daylight sensor that we have outside. Let's get the last one of this out. That should be enough, I believe, right now. Let's turn you off. Let's turn you off because we're going outside. Close that. Switch this up. And turn our suit back on. Move that there. There we go. Alright, so let's turn our light back on. Let's switch this out because I'm going to need this removed. And see, we can see our logic cables that are sticking out just a little bit. And we can see our solar panel and our daylight sensor. So I'm going to attach this here. Now, this is not the most cable efficient way to attach my daylight sensor, but it's out of the way for expandability. So it's out of the way and I can expand that way just easily. So we're going to run this down and then attach it to our system. So now our data connections for these two are part of the same network as our logic. Put that back in place and we'll head back inside. We'll close this, turn our suit off, turn our light off, turn this back on so you can see what we're doing. Now that all of that is accomplished and everything is on the same data network, I can come over here and set up my readers. So this is my vertical, so I'm going to say in from the daylight sensor, grab the vertical. And look at the green text next to where the little clicky mouse button is, not the green text on the right hand side, which is part of the construction or the next choice. So that's our logical reader. This is going to be our horizontal reader. We're still pulling from the daylight sensor and we're going to pull the horizontal. This is our batch writer and we're going to send right to the solar panel dual, and then we're going to do that for both of these. Since this is the vertical one, in is going to come from, logic, because vertical is the one that we need to do the math to, but we're going to send it to the vertical of the dual solar. This is just getting the horizontal directly from the logic reader horizontal and sending it back out to the solar panels. And we need the labeler because right here, where we're setting the memory, the logic memory, we're setting that to 90. Put that away, and we haven't configured the math yet. So we'll go in here, and input, we're going to take our, let's just do the first one as logic memory. So logic memory in, so 90 comes in. It's currently set to add, which is fine for us. And the second one, we're going to use the logic reader vertical. So it's going to add that 90 to whatever the vertical says is going on. And it's out is what it is, but our batch reader is already looking at it. Our vertical batch writer is looking at logic and is sending whatever logic comes up with out to the panel. So if we turn all of this on, click, 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 click. What we should have now, turn on our suit. I didn't turn my solar panel that direction, but it did. So what we actually have right now is automatic tracking of the sun. So it's at 277, 276. You can see it's decreasing. It is automatically using its angles it's getting from this to reposition our solar panel. And so it's eventually going to get down to 15 or something. It's going to get down to something on its vertical, and then it's going to point that way for sunrise. So that is one major concern, no longer concerning us. But this frees me to go do mining, to do other things, without worrying that my batteries are not going to charge during the day, or it reduces my chores. Let's call it that. It's chore reduction. And we get this nice chirping noise because we built these indoors, which not a lot of people seem to realize, I guess. At least early on, these things are loud indoors in a pressurized environment. So yeah, that is our automated solar tracking built. Let's go over here to our notes, and we're going to minimize episodes to oxygen filtration and atmosphere. And we're going to check off the solar tracking electronics, because we made our electronics printer, we made our sensor, our labeler, 4 logic I/O, logic memory, logic processor, and 50 cable coils. You'll need at least 50 on top of the 50 you started with, depending on how well you did your wiring through all of that. So you're going to need about 28 iron, 38 copper, 11 gold, and 7 silicon to accomplish that. What's next? Next is going to be getting our furnace installed. Steel. Steel is going to be one of the next things. Steel is our next building material. We're going to need it to get better tools, because we're going to need to make the other alloys as well. So what am I doing right? What am I massively screwing up? Leave me a comment. Leave me advice. I record 2 episodes at a time, so there's episode 4 is coming right up. And I check my comments before starting, and my mod list for how I'm playing is available on my channel as its own video. Thank you for watching.